The story of rescuing people. During a shipwreck, a sleep story. Told in Whispers of the Sea Part 1, The Whispering Tide. The ocean at first was quiet. It breathed in long, slow waves, sighing against the side of the ship like a creature in a dream. The moon hung low and wide, painting the decks in silver light. Most of the passengers were asleep. Only the soft hum of the engines and the creak of ropes filled the night air. At the stern of the vessel, a man named Elias Rowan, the ship's first officer, stood watch. His eyes were steady, his hands resting on the railing polished smooth by time and salt. The Celestine, a proud passenger ship, moved through the calm waters of the North Atlantic. But deep beneath that peaceful surface, the sea was changing. A shift in the wind, a murmur in the waves, something distant, almost imperceptible, like a sigh before a storm. Elias lifted his head and listened. The air felt different, heavy. The horizon, once bright with starlight, began to fade behind veils of mist. He didn't yet know that within hours everything would be turned upside down, that the calm before him was merely the sea's quiet inhale before it roared. Part 2. The Gathering Storm. It began as a distant rumble. Then a streak of lightning tore across the night sky, illuminating the sea in a flash of white and shadow. The waves began to rise, their tops curling with foam. Elias ordered the crew to secure the decks. Passengers were awakened gently at first, told to remain calm, but the storm did not wait for calm hearts. It grew wild, furious, ancient. The Celestine heaved from side to side. Rain fell in torrents, and the deck turned slick as glass. Above the chaos, the captain's voice rang out, strong but strained. "Hold fast! Keep steady! Life vests on! All of you!" Elias moved from one group to another, helping a mother fasten her child's vest, steadying an elderly man's trembling hands. The ocean now howled like a beast freed from its chains. In the blinding flashes of lightning, faces appeared and vanished, fearful, pale, yet still human and brave in their own quiet way. When the first great wave struck, it felt like the world split open. The ship tilted sharply, a scream cut through the roar of the sea. Crates and barrels tumbled across the deck. Elias grasped the nearest railing with both hands. He shouted orders that the wind stole away before anyone could hear. The second wave came larger, angrier, unstoppable. The Celestine groaned, the metal bending under pressure. Water rushed across the lower decks, and in that moment, between lightning and thunder, Elias knew the ship would not last much longer. Part 3. Into the Black Sea. The order was given. Abandon ship. There was no time to think, only to act. Lifeboats swung out from their davits. The wind tore at the ropes, making the task perilous. Men shouted, women cried, children clung to arms that trembled but did not let go. Elias stayed until the last boat was lowered. He refused to leave until every soul he could find was safe. But not everyone made it to the deck. Below, in the passenger cabins, water surged like a living thing, filling corridors, slamming doors shut. He went back down. The flashlight in his hand flickered against the flooding hallways. He called out, his voice echoing strangely. "Is anyone there?" A faint cry answered, then another. He waded through the rising water, lifting a young boy from a bunk, guiding a woman who had injured her leg. His boots grew heavier with every step, his breath short, but he pushed forward, one slow movement at a time. When they reached the staircase, the water was already waist deep. The ship lurched again and they fell forward. Elias grabbed the railing, pulling both to safety. Outside, the rain had softened to mist, but the waves were still monstrous. The last lifeboat was nearly gone. He shouted for them to wait, and they did. For just a heartbeat longer, long enough. Part 4. The Long Night. In the lifeboats, silence returned, broken only by sobs and the rhythmic slap of waves. The Celestine disappeared slowly into the dark, lights flickering one last time like the eyes of a dying star. Then, only darkness. Elias sat at the bow of one of the small boats, soaked to the bone, his muscles aching. but his mind strangely still. Around him, people huddled together beneath soaked blankets, whispering prayers, clinging to one another. The moon returned, pale and distant, casting silver across the rippling black. Time moved differently now, stretched, slowed. Each wave seemed to take an eternity to rise and fall. Elias spoke softly, comforting those who shivered and wept. He told them stories of calm seas, of ports filled with light, of his home far away. His voice, low and steady, seemed to ease the fear. Part 5. Dawn on the Water. At last, the first hint of morning touched the sea. A faint rose light spread across the sky. The storm had passed. In the quiet, they could hear the cry of distant gulls. Elias lifted his head and squinted into the brightness. There, on the horizon, a dark shape moved. A ship. He stood, waving his arms, his heart pounding. Others followed, calling, shouting with hoarse voices. A flare was lit, painting the morning air in crimson smoke. The rescue ship drew closer. The survivors wept openly, clutching each other as the sound of engines grew louder. When the rescuers arrived, they lifted each person carefully from the lifeboats, wrapping them in blankets, offering warm drinks, soft words. Elias was the last to climb aboard. He turned once, looking back at the empty ocean where only a few broken planks floated on the waves, and he whispered, "If you enjoyed this story, please like, subscribe, and drift back again for the next voyage."